Live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. So go ahead and put your questions in the comments so that I may answer your questions. Now, today, I'm not going to come with a topic. Instead, what I am going to be doing is I'll be taking your questions today. So I am U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe, and I help clients to get status, their permanent residence in the United States. And I'm here today to answer your questions. Now, keep in mind that the information I'm giving you today is not personalized legal advice. It's very general information. And so this is where it's very important that if you have questions that are specific to a situation that you're in, or that where you would like to figure out what your options are going forward, that's where it's important to protect yourself and schedule a consultation. Never just depend on any information you're getting on a live. You want to make sure that you are speaking directly to the attorney to get personalized legal advice. And that's what I help to individuals who then become my clients. So you can always go ahead and give the office a call. My phone number is in the description of the video on YouTube, and it's also on the profile page on Instagram. So put those questions in the comments and I will answer. When you click on the link, it's going to take you to a website with different options, depending on what your needs are and how you want to approach the consultation. If you would like to schedule it on your own without calling, there's a button to do that. If you want to speak to a scheduling coordinator first, you can always go to the website and you'll see the phone number, you'll see the online chat, and you will see the online form where you can submit your information, and then we'll get in touch with you. So many different ways to get in touch so we can start to give you the legal advice you need to move forward to get residence and status here in the United States. All right, so I see the first question here, and today is only Q&A. So now is your chance to put your questions in. I don't limit your number of questions. You can ask as many as we can during this Q&A. Doing AOS through citizen spouse, what's the next step after the biometrics? So if you have applied for your work permit, that may come next. If you've applied for your travel document, now to speed up the work permits, they call it decoupling the travel document and the work permit, but you may get the travel document on the work permit or you may not. It just depends on how fast. So I find the longer it takes to process your work permit, you tend to get the travel document with it. But if you get it within weeks to a month, then sometimes the travel document isn't on it. So that may come next. And then you never know, your interview might be scheduled or you might get your green card in the mail. It just depends on what questions they have, what information you submitted, if they're going to need anything additional. But those would be the steps that would follow one of my cases. So that's how one of my cases would go, but it also depends on what you've submitted. All right, go ahead, put your questions in the comments. I'm here to answer. So put those questions in the comments. I will be back on Monday to come with a topic and answer your questions. But I am here today and I'm here to answer questions. So no topic for me today. I'm just going to go ahead and answer your questions. So put as many questions as you can in the chat so that I can address those questions. Thanks for the follow. All right, so while I wait for questions to come in, this is what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you how I help my clients. So I do help my clients to get permanent residence as well as status in the United States. And the way that I do this is through different means, right? So you do have employment, you have humanitarian, you have family-based. And so this is where I evaluate my clients' cases to see where they could fall to be able to get their permanent residence. Now, if they get their permanent residence and they qualify for adjustment of status, they can also get the work permit, their social security number, and travel documents so they're not stuck here while they wait for the permanent residence to process to go through. And this is called the adjustment of status process. Now, when I say humanitarian, these are tools that my clients can use that I help them to obtain that they don't know about. And this is through asylum. They just released new language about the asylum and applying for permanent residence, because once you're granted asylum in the United States, you can then move on to get your permanent residence. There's also the VAWA. So if you're here, you're married, or you have a relative who could have sponsored you, but they're not sponsoring you because they're mistreating you and they're using it as a control tactic, that can also be a way for you to apply for your own permanent residence, your own work permit, and travel document through a process called VAWA. This falls under humanitarian based immigration. And then there's the other one that I want to mention called the T. Now, where the T can help individuals is if they are here in the United States and an employer, an acquaintance, even an intimate partner, a parent, another relative, somebody who may not even be related to them, exploited them, abused them for their own purposes. This can amount to sex or labor trafficking under immigration law, and it allows individuals to be able to get their status here for the next 4 years, their work permit, as well as the ability to get permanent residence after some time. And a lot of people don't know this. So a lot of people are sitting here and they are going through it. They're really going through it with a partner that may not be a spouse. And so they can't apply for a marriage base. They can't apply for VAWA relief because they're not a spouse. But T status could be an option just depending on what they're being forced to do in the marriage, in the relationship. If the spouse is not a US citizen or resident, but they are forcing their spouse to do things that they don't want to do, this could also mean that it is a form of trafficking, and it can lead to immigration relief that some people don't realize they have. And I have helped clients to obtain this. It is a real relief that allows people to heal and move on without I call them traffickers because they are traffickers. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't see trafficking in this way, and I think that's where the disconnect is. And so I try to educate people about what trafficking looks like. Trafficking comes in different forms, and it's not just someone who's kidnapped and held against their will to do things against their will. These are not the only trafficking victims, but we have trafficking victims, immigrant trafficking victims every day who are subjected to do work for people, who are subjected to do sex acts for people against their will, who are even forced to stay with partners, people who were their intimate partners, or who coax them into coming to the United States to be their partners, just to then face, abuse as well as force. So that is also an option that you should know about. And if you've been the victim of a crime as well here in the US, that's also an option. Now, let me go back to questions. How long does it take to waive the J1 2-year residency to adjust status? So it could take a couple of months, but it depends on what type of waiver. There are different types of waivers. There is a no objection letter that you could get, and you have to then work through your country. And then after you work through your country, then you have to work here in the United States to be able to get the no objection letter. But there are other types of waivers, and it depends on what you qualify for. So that's where you should definitely consult an attorney, because the length of time is going to depend on what type of waiver you're applying for. All right, keep putting those questions in the comments. I'm here to answer your questions. All right, so I don't see any more questions, so I'm going to call it an early day today. Thanks for joining me, everyone. I will be back on Monday with a topic, and you can come with your questions, and then we can jam it out. All right, thanks for your questions. I'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.